Today, we'll be discussing the topic, educating your new remote workforce, top security awareness tips to share with your team. While many of you listening today are long-term customers, some of you may not know as much about us. Access IT Group is the premier security VAR on the East Coast. We have been supporting clients for over 2 decades from 3 distinct professional services practices. While we have many trained engineers and customized offerings within the technical and cloud services practices, today we'll be focusing on elements of the risk management practice. With all of the COVID-19 phishing scams going on, we'd like to present a brief overview of security awareness, which you can take and share with your team. Our presenter today is Allison Kuronya, an expert on this topic. Allison is part of our risk management practice and has been our compliance consultant for several years. In addition to delivering security awareness and social engineering training, her work includes network diagram and document analysis, compliance interviews for HIPAA, ISO, and PCI, as well as technical writing. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Allison.
Thank you for that introduction, John, and welcome everyone. In the last decade, work-from-home privileges have been slowly growing. According to the 2019 National Compensation Survey from the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 7%, or 9.8 million Americans, had the opportunity to work from home regularly or part-time. Not all of them took their employers up on that offer either. But I'm sure you've noticed in the past few years that a lot of your friends and family members are working from home a few days a week, or you're hearing about more and more people who work from home full-time. With the recent onset of COVID-19, there are an influx of workers coming onto the remote scene, and many companies are tackling a large number of remote users for the first time. According to Reuters, Microsoft Teams more than doubled their daily active users from November 2019 to March 18th of 2020. Slack, another professional instant messaging platform, boasted a 40% increase of users this quarter. The current crisis is a tipping point for remote workers. It's forcing employers' hands the way lobbying could not do, and how it's moved the masses to a remote workforce. With this kind of shift that's happening right now, we can only predict that a great number of employees will continue to benefit from work-from-home policies after this crisis has abated. Early forecasts indicate that within the next 2 years, 25 to 30 million U.S. employees will regularly work from home, and this is all due to COVID-19 and the incredible shift that's happening right now. And that's why we're here today, to protect and educate newly remote workers. While the bulk of this training is designed for your end users who are new to working from home and may not know some of the best security awareness practices, we also wanted to provide some key takeaways for you, the IT managers. We're currently living in an environment where it's best to be proactive and not reactive. So with these things in mind, we present to you 6 tips that you can be doing right now. First of all, check your VPNs for leaks. Technology is not infallible, and it's important to test for DNS, IP address, and WebRTC leaks. Also, with the influx of users, you may want to make sure that your VPN speed is up to snuff. Reissue a security awareness quiz to end users that they need to pass. And end users' awareness is paramount to security. Communicate with your team. Remind them that the help desk won't contact them for their usernames and passwords. Share remote worker policies so that they can review and refresh, and remind them to follow secure protocols that are already in place. Develop a communication system or portal where employees can share potential social engineering scams, phishing emails, and other InfoSec issues. Share this program with your end users so that they have a better understanding of cybersecurity best practices. This pandemic has left us all a little unprepared and a little ill at ease, and we realize in this time you may have not been able to devote the amount of time you wanted to educating your end users. So we encourage you to share this with your team. And of course, if you're in a pinch, you can always call us at Access IT to talk about the best ways to keep your organization secure. Now at this point, we are moving into the portion of the program that is for your remote end users. As a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we'll share it with you via email as a follow-up. Before we discuss our tips, we need to understand some of the risks that are associated with working from home. While there are many, I've chosen to highlight three: theft, unsecure networks, and people. When you work remotely, it is your responsibility to ensure the security of your belongings and whatever information is in your possession. Sometimes we think that we might not previously have been allowed to work from home because our employers are worried that we're gonna lose a laptop. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the theft of a laptop or a phone is a gateway into your company's network. And that gateway can lead to the theft of proprietary information, bank accounts, your own personal information. So really, the loss of devices can be detrimental to an organization. It's so much more than just a laptop. Unsecured Wi-Fi networks introduce a myriad of potential threat vectors and should be avoided at all costs. Other people have access to this network, and there are no security provisions like firewalls between you and another individual who may or may not have any nefarious intentions. Additionally, interested parties on public networks you connect to can monitor your traffic. Finally, people. We don't often think of people as a risk, but in fact, people pose one of the greatest liabilities when it comes to their company's cybersecurity. From falling to phishing emails or phone scams, downloading compromised documents and files, of course, it's usually unintentional. It comes from a combination of two things: the desire to help and the lack of awareness. Bad security habits can breed bad losses. These risks, independently or in combination, could lead to huge financial losses for an institution, to business closures. Remember the Equifax and the Target scams that landed hundreds of thousands of people's personal information into the hands of hackers. Again, as well as accessing proprietary information and other information that could be really valuable to your competitors. Good preparation, however, can significantly reduce your risks and make your experience far more relaxing and productive. And some of these simple techniques that we're going to talk about today will help protect you against security risks. Again, these tips will not be new to IT managers and veteran remote workers, but of course they're a great refresh. But these are designed for those who are newly remote workers working from home for the first time. Number one, acquaint yourself with the necessary policies and procedures. Your employer should have issued a variety of policies and procedures as they relate to your organization's rules and guidelines. They should even have some specifically for working from home. It is your responsibility to acquaint yourself with the organization's policies and procedures. It's also your responsibility to know who to contact if there is an emergency or a security breach. If you haven't already reviewed your organization's policies, look for things like remote work or work from home policies, security awareness policies, acceptable use, password security, social media usage, and social engineering. If you're not sure what to do or where to go, contact your manager and they should be able to direct you. Number two, follow secure access procedures. There are an increasing number of simple methods that can be used to capture passwords or intercept data traveling to a network. To protect their sensitive information, corporations have implemented various tools to protect their data, such as virtual private networks, also known as VPNs, cloud services, and multi-factor authentication. Virtual private networks, or VPNs, add an extra layer of security on both secure Wi-Fi connections as well as public ones. A VPN makes a direct, secure connection between your device and the private network of your organization, called a secure VPN tunnel. Data transferred through the tunnel is encrypted at both ends, which ensures that hackers are unable to decrypt any of the data that's passing through. If your organization employs VPN technology for offsite connections, you should use it every time you connect to protect your organization's data. Smaller companies may utilize cloud services, such as Office 365 or G Suite, to access email, drives, and other applications that they use on a regular basis for work. These have built-in security measures. Lots of corporations are actually utilizing multi-factor authentication, or MFA, as an added layer of security for their VPN networks and their cloud services. Multi-factor authentication only grants the end user access after they've presented 2 pieces of evidence to authenticate. Those pieces of evidence include something you know, like a password or a passphrase, something you have, like a token or a key, typing into a key, or something that you are, a biometric, like a fingerprint. Moving on to number 3, maintain device security protocols. I've broken this down into 3 further key points that I'm gonna talk about. They are: only utilize work-appointed devices, don't share your work devices, and never use USBs to transfer data between your home and work PCs. Okay. Only utilize a work-appointed device. It can be tempting to use your personal computer if your work computer is in a different room, or if in the future you've left it at the office. But this puts both you and your employer at an unnecessary risk. It's very likely that your company's IT team is so efficient and effective, and they're performing activities in the background that you are completely unaware of. They've installed regular updates, they're performing antivirus scans, blocking malicious sites, and your computer really just does not have the same level of security. So it could be much easier to compromise it from a third party. Essentially, by introducing a personal computer to your work network, even remotely, you've put your company networks and yourself at risk and open yourself up to potential liability. Don't share your work devices. Although it may be tempting to let your kids surf YouTube on your work computer, it's vital that you don't share your work devices with anyone. This includes phones, laptops, tablets. They could inadvertently view confidential information that you have stored on your device. They could visit malicious websites and install software intentionally or by accident that could compromise the computer. And they may simply steal from you. Never let anybody, even your family, have access to your office computer. It's your responsibility to protect the company's confidential information. Also remember that if you have passwords saved on those devices, you're leaving yourself open to, and those applications open to various risks. Finally, don't use USBs to transfer data between your home and your work PC. Never connect an external hard drive or USB to the office PC that is connected to the company's network, even if it's only to transfer something like music or a photo or to print a document. This could bring a deadly virus or leak sensitive data, and it could leave you, again, vulnerable to a lawsuit. Number 4, use a secure wireless network. When it comes to utilizing Wi-Fi, we always want to make sure we're on a secure network so that hackers and other nosy people don't monitor our comings and goings online. Do not just assume that your home network is safe. In-home Wi-Fi can absolutely put you and your organization in just as much risk as a public Wi-Fi. To reduce that risk, be sure to enable a unique password for access, and don't use the default that's on the router. A strong password typically has at least 7 characters and a combination of upper and lowercase letters and numbers and symbols if you're able to use them. I would highly recommend throwing in some exclamation points or question marks to just make that password a little bit more complex. If you're able, set up a separate guest network on your home Wi-Fi so that you can ensure all of your confidential data remains safe. At a certain point, this ban will be lifted and we'll be able to visit some of our favorite places again. But does that mean that we should access private company information when we're logged on to Starbucks? It does not. A lot of remote workers are guilty of connecting over public Wi-Fi, but they really shouldn't. Public Wi-Fi networks are just a hotbed for hackers who are trying to get login credentials. And you know, at some places you have to sign in, there's a pop-up website, you have to put in your email address and a password, and so that you're able to use their free Wi-Fi. Those are so easy to duplicate. And again, it's a hotbed for hackers. So remember, it's always best to connect from home or the office to ensure that you are using a safe connection. Utilize video conferencing best practices. Many organizations are now utilizing video conferencing instead of traditional in-person meetings. Where you can conduct your meeting can reveal a lot of information about you that you are not intending to disseminate. Be considerate of what's around you. In the past, one of the greatest risks of using video conferencing was the accidental disclosure of information. However, with the onset of COVID-19, you may have heard about the zombies. You want to be aware of these hackers who are dialing in and shutting down video conferencing meetings. They've been dubbed by the news the zombies, and we have 3 tips to ensure that they don't attack your next meeting. First, you want to make sure that you establish a meeting password for internal and private meetings, especially if you plan to share confidential and sensitive information. Create a meeting waiting room, and finally, lock down your meeting once all of your attendees have arrived. Some other best practices include hide personal items, your family photos, degrees, valuables. These can reveal a lot of information about you. Hide all of your calendars and schedules, any sort of contact list. Make sure that they're out of view. It's really best to close all of your browsers, especially ones that you don't, close those all out and preload any documents you need for the meeting. Again, this will ensure that you don't inadvertently disclose any confidential information. And finally, when your video conference is through, be sure that you disconnect your external webcam when it's not in use. And for your webcams that are built internally, use a webcam cover. If you don't have one, a Post-it note is a great, works great in a pinch, and will prevent anyone from popping in to check on you. Practice responsible social media use. Social media is the greatest way to stay in touch with our friends and family, especially right now while we're all united in our isolation. But it's also, like going to target practice for hackers. So when we're on social media, we want to be really wary of ads that we post or ads that we click on, especially those things that are offering things like free gift cards. And right now, items such as masks, gloves, cleaning supplies, we really want to be careful about who we're getting these things from, and we only want to click on reputable links. And when we can leave our house again, because we will be able to leave our houses again, don't post your current location. Never say when you're on vacation, because that's a great opportunity for a thief to show up and ransack your home. Be wary of unusual messages and never click on emails that seem to come from suspicious or fake sites. Be very mindful about the photos that you post. We're so focused on what the subject of the photograph should be that we kind of forget about things that are going on in the background. A friend of mine posted a photo recently of her little boy. He knocked on her office window and she took a photo of him, but in the reflection, you could see her computer screens and you could see what she was working on. So I emailed her and I let her know, and she took that down. So always be wary of the photos that you're posting online. When it comes to work, check your employer's social media policies before posting anything about them on social media, and never post any private details about your life or your employer. Number 7, build a secure workspace. We all think of home as a really safe space, and it typically is. But when you work from home, it's still necessary to take certain security precautions to protect your organization's information and keep the rest of the network and the rest of those devices safe. So while you're at home, you should lock the doors. This ensures that you have a safe place to work. You can just take a breath, relax. It will reduce your stress and allow you to focus on the tasks that you have at hand. If you step away from your office, whether it actually be a room with 4 walls or your dining room table or your bedroom, just make sure that everything is kind of safe and secure before you step away. Just like you would at the office, always, always, always lock your computer before going into another room. It's super simple. You just hold down that Windows key and press the L, and then that'll lock your screen. You'll have to enter your password to get back in when you come back. Ensure that the Wi-Fi connection you use at home is secure. Remember to use a secure Wi-Fi password and not the default password that comes with the router. Use a locked filing cabinet to store any sensitive or confidential documents. And remember to never, ever leave your laptop or sensitive information in your car or unattended in a public space. All right. Be aware of social engineering scams and tactics. Social engineering is being talked a lot about in the news, and I have some specific examples of cases that have been going on, but I wanted to give everybody a brief overview about what social engineering is. And really, it's kind of an ancient art form of manipulating people so that they give up confidential information, social security numbers, bank information. It might also just be to solicit funding from people. And the reason that hackers use social engineering, this old and enduring concept, is because it preys on our humanity and it works really, really well. Hackers can manipulate our human tendencies, the desire to please others, be kind and helpful, and they exploit these tendencies and our trust to steal valuable information. And in reality, the main reason that they do it is because it's so much easier to convince someone to give away their password than it is to hack into someone's network. So one of the first social engineering tactics that you've probably heard this word in the past, phishing. That's phishing with a PH. Phishing attacks are the most common type of attacks leveraged by social engineers. Attackers can use emails or social media and even text to trick their victims into providing sensitive information or to visiting malicious URLs or downloading malicious documents. And usually these messages appear to come from a trusted source, like a friend or your boss, coworker, family member, someone like that. Phishing is a telephone equivalent of phishing. The social engineer will use the phone in an attempt to scam the user into surrendering private information that will then be used for identity theft. Scammer usually pretends to be a legitimate business. Right now, perhaps it might be the Red Cross or another organization collecting money for COVID-19 patients or research and fool the victims into thinking he or she will be helping during this pandemic. And finally, USB drops. Now, while this is not going to be too common right now because we're all stuck at home, once we're out and working in the physical world, never pick up a USB drive that you find laying around your office or at a store. Leaving physical media that disperses malware is one of the most utilized techniques by hackers. Hackers will leave this bait, a malware-infected flash drive in a busy area, and it's a real flash drive. And once you plug it into your computer, it unleashes all sorts of viruses. It can bring back information to the hacker. So we always want to be careful of what we're plugging into our device. There are a plethora of COVID-19 scams going on right now. Medical scams that include, providers calling and saying that you owe money for a family member, testing scams, fake tests being sold, treatment scams. Last week, FBI agents arrested a man in Southern California who had claimed he had a patent-pending cure for COVID-19. This, of course, was false, and he was arrested. And the FBI is looking more into that. Be aware of supply scams right now. A lot of shops and websites claiming that they have masks and cleaning products, toilet paper. The Federal Trade Commission in the last 3 months alone has received more than 7,000 complaints of coronavirus-related scams, totaling more than $4.5 million in losses. So be careful, again, where you click and who you're buying things from. During these trying times, of course, we all want to help, but we have to be careful of who we're giving money to. Charity scams are another very popular ploy used by hackers. So when you donate, be sure that you're donating to a reputable source. Be sure that you are visiting their website, or that you're reaching out to them and not having them call you, so that you can donate in the safest and securest way. And I have a few more tips that I'm going to talk about in a few more minutes. And finally, beware of financial scams, either investment scams of people claiming, looking for donations to fuel research, but also stimulus check scams. So many people are awaiting these $1,200 stimulus checks from the U.S. Treasury. However, the FBI and other agencies have warned that phone calls, texts, and emails asking for personal or financial information to get these funds are not legitimate. The government will not reach out to you in any way, and the funds should be automatically put into your bank account. If you receive any sort of text or emails or phone calls, you should just ignore them or report them. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about what you can do and how to be aware of various social engineering tactics. As you can see, this is one of the women in marketing, a screenshot of her email screen. And the email that I want to point out is from Joseph Luciano. Joe Luciano is the CEO at Access IT. And as you can see, he says, "Hey, Christy, good day. I'm in an important conference right now." Well, that's a red flag right there because the entire country is on lockdown. Now, Christy decided to be smart and look further into that. And so she took her mouse and highlighted Joseph Luciano. And as you can see, the actual email address, not just the name of the person, showed up. And it's really someone by the name of Jaredi Hussein 411 at Gmail. So what I think is so interesting about this is even as a cybersecurity company, we still get hacked, and they'll absolutely use a higher up at your company to try to get you to give them information. A few other things to remember and be mindful of: always be cautious when clicking on unknown links and downloads. Refer to your company's policies if you think you have been if you think you've been social engineered. Never share any private information like your birth date, social security number, bank information. Be sure to verify the charity's pleas for assistance. You can verify a charity's charitable status by using the IRS's tax-exempt organization search. You can also utilize charitynavigator.org. That's a great resource to determine which charities are reputable, and they have a page specifically for COVID-19 right now, and it breaks down what charities are looking for, whether you're looking to donate supplies to nurses or whether you're looking to donate to research funding. And finally, remember that the IRS will absolutely not contact you via text, email, or phone regarding your stimulus check. This should happen automatically. If you are contacted, it's most likely a scam, and you should, per the U.S. Treasury Department, you should report it to the FBI. Number 9, be vigilant when working in public places. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. At a certain point, the stay-at-home bans will be lifted, and once again, we'll be able to grab our favorite table at our favorite local spot and work without fear of our neighboring tables coughing onto us. But of course, we still have to be careful of some other non-pathogen vulnerabilities. As I mentioned earlier, theft is one of the major risks of allowing employees to work remotely. It's very easy for a hacker to access the network with a phone or a laptop someone left at the airport or on a tabletop while they ran quickly to the restroom. So never leave your valuables, such as your computer, phone, thumb drive, any sort of documents, never leave those unattended in a public place. Also, don't leave them in your hotel room either. It's tempting to do so, but so many people actually have access to that room while you're away. It's kind of disconcerting. Be aware of your surroundings and the activities that's going on around you. These are a really good indicator of what is safe and what is unsafe. Awareness is a really great part of a good defense. Remember, don't use public Wi-Fi connections. These are insecure and will leave your organization vulnerable to attack. Don't leave sticky notes with usernames and passwords on your laptop or files titled passwords on any of your devices. Don't leave any confidential information or devices in your car. A really good friend of mine is a photographer, and she was on her way home from a shoot, and she lost 2 cameras and a laptop and some other stuff. I mean, she lost a full day's work, as well as so many other things. So be careful and never leave anything unattended in your vehicle. And also, with that story in mind, be sure that you back everything up. You'll never know when you'll be glad that you did. And finally, when in doubt, ask questions. If you are ever unsure about anything, just ask your admin, your help desk operator, or your manager. Any IT manager would much rather you reach out and ask a simple question than deal with the fallout of a security breach. So thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to our best practices for working remotely. Next week, we will be emailing you a link to the presentation as well as some additional resources. And again, we highly encourage you to share this with your end users. Thank you so much. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to John.
Thank you, Allison, for that thorough overview. I am sure our attendees found several beneficial security tips for their remote workforce. If our attendees have additional questions, or you'd like to discuss creating a customized security awareness training for your organization, please contact Access IT via the following paths. Access IT Group is committed to supporting our clients during this challenging time. We want to thank everyone for attending today and, of course, our best wishes for safety and health for you, your families, and your fellow employees. Thank you. Have a good day.